First of all, the stupid light is on, and I have to give a speech first, and I was not prepared. And this is just my icebreaker. I'm so incensed. I don't know what to do. I don't think I can go on. Okay, I'll go on. Now, how many of you recognize the title of my speech? Well, how did I get here? It's from a Talking Heads song, Once in a Lifetime. You may find yourself living in a shotgun shack, and you may find yourself living in another part of the world. You may find yourself behind the wheel of a large automobile. You may find yourself in a beautiful house with a beautiful wife, and you may say to yourself, well, how did I get here? I feel like that all the time. Judy told you not to be confused, but I am confused. How did I get here? If you had asked me when I was 15 years old where I would be when I was 47, I would never say living in Florida and doing computers in an office building. Never. I would have gotten one thing right. I would have said I would be a mother. That's it. That's the only thing I would have gotten right. Otherwise, I'd be living in New York and doing all kinds of other New York type things, and I would have been a doctor. Yes, I was going to be a doctor. I went to college. I majored in biology. I took Chem 1. I got a C. And when I took computers, which they forced me to take, I didn't want to take computers. Why would I need computers? I'm going to be a doctor. I don't need a computer. But I was getting an A in computers. Then I took Chem 2, and I got a D. I never, ever got a D. I got a D in Chem 2. I got an A in computers. Computers were easy. Computers were fun. And I changed majors. But not because of the grades, honestly. I realized that if I wanted to be a mother, which I did, it would be hard to be a doctor and be a mother at the same time. And I didn't want to short shrift my children. So I decided this computer thing is easy. This computer thing has somewhat regular hours. I wouldn't have to be on call quite as much as a doctor. And I changed majors. And there I was, living in New York City, because that's where I'm from. I'm a New York City girl, if you remember my icebreaker. It's very cool to be from New York City. You ask me where I'm from, I very rarely say I'm a Floridian. I usually say, well, I'm from New York, because I am from New York. Even my kids sense this, because my two older children were born in New York City, and my little son, Miles, was born in Florida. He resents that he was born in Florida, not because we ever say anything to him, but because he knows inherently that it's cooler to be born in New York. And I even am a little jealous of my older two, because they were born in Manhattan, and I was only born in Brooklyn. Brooklyn is cool, very cool, but it's not as cool as Manhattan. My two older sons were born in Manhattan, and that's really cool. Miles was born in Boca Raton. Doesn't feel as cool. I understand. So, how did I get to Florida? Well, there's a lot of reasons that took me here. Reason number one, I started coughing. I was coughing my head off in New York. It was really cold, and I had bronchial asthma, and the cold exacerbated it, and I couldn't breathe anymore. And I would be up all night, sitting up, coughing my head off, feeling like my head was going to explode. And then there was a blizzard, and there was no heat, and I had a 7-week-old son, and he had to go to the hospital because he was sick. So in a snowstorm, taking my son to the hospital, coming home to no heat, and my husband at the time got stuck in a snowdrift in Philadelphia. This was horrible. Didn't like the cold, didn't like the winters. And then my husband said, I don't like living in the city. I grew up in the mountains. I'm really unhappy. Can we move someplace quiet, someplace more peaceful? How about Florida? You could breathe in Florida. It's warm. You could stay home with the kids. I'll get a job. You can stay home. We can have a pool. I have been a lifeguard every summer of my life in camp. I liked the pool idea. I like the staying home with the kids idea the most. And I liked not coughing. That was a good idea. So, we moved to Florida. I stayed home with the kids. It was really cool. My husband wasn't liking his job very much. My neighbor asked me for my resume. Well, I gave her my resume and didn't think too much of it. And then I got a phone call from NCCI. And long story short, we needed benefits because my husband was leaving his job and I had kids to take care of. And you can't have kids and not have health benefits. It just doesn't work out very well. So I ended up in an office building in Boca Raton, Florida, doing computers, when all I wanted to do growing up was live in the city and be a doctor. But what was the thing that stayed the same? I wanted to be a mother. The one important thing to me, the most important thing to me, did not change. So how did I get here? Well, you can see it was a very crazy long journey of how I got here. But in the end, even though all my ideas when I was 15 about what I would be doing and where I would be living are all gone except one, the being a mother. Because to me, that was the most important part. That's